police officer thought she was ordinary. One slap ended his career. That morning, the officer believed he was dealing with just another ordinary woman. He had no idea that one careless moment, one slap, would destroy everything he had built in his career. But before we continue, I'm curious. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is in your country right now. I always love seeing how far these stories travel around the world. Now let's begin. The taxi driver did not know his life was about to change. He was just trying to start his day. But one slap from a corrupt police officer would destroy 2 careers before sunset. And the officer had no idea the quiet woman sitting in the back seat was the most powerful lawyer in the county. District Attorney Sophia Carter looked like an ordinary woman that morning. Blue jeans, simple white top, hair tied back casually. Nothing about her appearance suggested power. Next to her sat her younger sister Lily, who was visiting New York for the first time. They were excited. The plan was simple. Go to the mall, buy some clothes, eat lunch, and enjoy the day together. But fate had something else planned. The yellow taxi rolled through a busy street in Manhattan. Traffic was heavy. Horns echoed between the tall buildings. People rushed across sidewalks carrying coffee cups and briefcases. Suddenly the taxi slowed. Up ahead, a police checkpoint blocked the road. Orange cones were placed across the street. Several officers were stopping cars and checking documents. The taxi driver sighed quietly. "Another checkpoint," he murmured. Sophia noticed the worry in his voice. The taxi finally stopped. One officer approached the window. His name badge read Officer Mike Reynolds. His expression was cold. He tapped the car window. The driver rolled it down politely. "License and vehicle papers," Mike said sharply. The driver quickly handed them over. Mike glanced at them for barely 2 seconds before frowning. "This car has no valid insurance." The driver looked shocked. "Sir, that's not correct. The insurance is active." Mike shrugged. "I also don't see a smog certificate." The driver became nervous. "Officer, I have both documents. I think I left them at my apartment. I can bring them tomorrow morning." Mike leaned closer to the window. His voice lowered. "You can show them tomorrow." Then he smiled slightly. "Or we can solve this right now." The driver looked confused. "What do you mean, officer?" Mike tapped the roof of the taxi slowly. $200. The driver froze. For a moment he thought he heard wrong. "Sir, $200, Mike repeated calmly. "Otherwise I write the ticket and impound your taxi." The taxi driver's face turned pale. "Officer, please. I just started my shift. I haven't earned anything today." Mike rolled his eyes. "You earned money yesterday." "Sir, that money is already gone. I used it for rent and food." Mike's voice suddenly turned harsh. "That is not my problem." Sophia sat quietly in the back seat, watching everything. Every word, every expression, every lie. The driver folded his hands in desperation. "Officer, please. I have a family. If you take the taxi, how will I work?" Mike's patience disappeared. "Enough." He opened the door and dragged the driver halfway out of the seat. "You think I am joking?" The driver trembled. "Sir, please forgive me." Mike's face twisted with anger. "You broke beggar." And before anyone could react, slap. The sound echoed across the street. Mike had slapped the driver hard across the face. People nearby turned their heads. The driver held his cheek, shocked and humiliated. Inside the taxi, Sophia's eyes slowly filled with anger. She opened the door, stepped out, and walked directly toward the officer. Sophia stopped only a few feet from Mike. Her voice was calm but firm. "Why did you slap him?" Mike looked at her with annoyance. "Who asked you to speak?" Sophia did not move. "This man is trying to earn a living. If he made a mistake, you issue a ticket. But asking for a bribe and hitting him is illegal." The officer laughed mockingly. "Illegal?" "Yes." Sophia crossed her arms. "What you are doing is corruption." Mike stepped closer to her. "You think you know the law?" Sophia looked straight into his eyes. "I know enough." Mike's patience snapped. "You little troublemaker." Without warning, slap. He struck Sophia across the face. The crowd gasped. Even the taxi driver looked terrified. Mike pointed toward the taxi. "Get back in the car and leave before I arrest you too." Lily grabbed Sophia's arm nervously. "Sophia, let's go." But Sophia remained calm. She touched her cheek slowly. Her eyes burned with silent anger. Yet she said nothing. Instead, she simply turned and walked back to the taxi. Mike laughed arrogantly. "That's what I thought." The taxi drove away. But inside the car, Sophia's mind was already working. She looked out the window at the city streets. That slap did not just hit her face. It revealed something much bigger. A system full of corruption. And she had just seen the first piece of it. She whispered quietly to herself, "Officer Mike, your career is over." At the mall, Lily excitedly tried on dresses. She had no idea what storm was building in Sophia's mind. Sophia smiled and helped her choose clothes. But inside she was thinking about only one thing. The police department. If one officer behaved like this, there might be many more. That night Sophia made a decision. She would investigate. Not as a district attorney, but as an ordinary citizen. The next morning she dressed simply again. Green shirt, black jeans, no makeup, no official car, no security. She walked straight into the police station where Officer Mike worked. Inside, the air conditioning hummed loudly. Several officers sat around lazily. At the front desk sat Lieutenant Robert Hayes. He was scrolling on his phone. Sophia approached him politely. "Officer, I want to file a complaint." Robert barely looked up. "What kind?" "Police corruption." Now he looked up, but instead of concern, he smirked. "There is a $500 processing fee." Sophia blinked. "I'm sorry. $500? Robert repeated casually. "If you want a report written." Sophia felt anger rising inside her. "You are asking for a bribe." Robert leaned back in his chair. "No money. No report." Sophia spoke calmly. "Filing a complaint is free under the law." Robert laughed loudly. "Lady, you talk too much." Sophia crossed her arms again. "If you refuse to write the report, I will take action." Robert's face hardened. "You?" He stood up slowly. "You look like someone who cleans houses." The officers nearby chuckled. Robert pointed toward the door. "Get out before I throw you out." Sophia realized something important. The corruption was not just one officer. It was the entire station. Her plan was working. She stepped outside calmly. Then she took out her phone and made one call. "Internal Affairs. I need a team immediately." Sophia ended the call and put the phone back in her pocket. Her face was calm, but inside the storm had already started. She walked back into the police station. The moment Robert saw her again, his face twisted with anger. "You again?" He slammed his phone on the desk. "Didn't I tell you to get lost?" Sophia stood quietly in front of the desk. "I only want to file a report." Robert laughed loudly. "You are very stubborn." He leaned forward. "I already told you. $500. Sophia shook her head slowly. "You are breaking the law." Robert's patience snapped. "Enough." He pointed at two officers standing nearby. "Throw her out." The two officers walked toward Sophia. One of them reached for her arm. But before he could touch her, a loud voice thundered from the entrance. "Freeze!" The entire room turned toward the door. The station suddenly fell silent. Several people walked inside. Serious-looking men in dark suits. Behind them were uniformed officers. And at the center of the group stood the chief of police himself. The officers inside the station looked confused. Robert's face turned pale. What is happening?" The chief walked straight toward Sophia. Then he stopped beside her respectfully. One of the men in suits looked at Robert with pure anger. "Lieutenant Robert Hayes." Robert swallowed nervously. "Yes. You are under investigation for corruption, extortion, and abuse of power." The room went silent. Robert pointed at Sophia desperately. But this girl." Before he could finish speaking, Sophia stepped forward. Her posture changed. Her voice became strong. clear, commanding. Not this girl. She looked directly into Robert's eyes. I am Sophia Carter, District Attorney of this county. The entire station froze. Some officers stepped backward in shock. Robert's mouth opened but no words came out. Sophia continued. I came here yesterday as an ordinary citizen. She looked around the room slowly. And I saw exactly how this station treats the public. Robert started sweating heavily. Madam, I didn't know. Sophia raised her hand. Silence. Her voice echoed through the room. A mistake happens once. She pointed at his desk. But corruption is a habit. The chief of police stepped forward angrily. Arrest him. 2 officers immediately grabbed Robert. They pulled his arms behind his back. Click. The sound of handcuffs filled the room. Robert started begging. Please, madam, give me one chance. Sophia looked at him coldly. You had many chances. Just then, the main door opened again. Another officer walked in quickly. It was Officer Mike. He looked tired and nervous. He had no idea what was happening. But when he saw Sophia standing there with the chief of police, his heart dropped. His mind flashed back to the street. The taxi. The slap. His legs suddenly felt weak. Mike quickly walked toward the chief. Chief! This woman is a troublemaker. The room became tense. Mike continued nervously. Yesterday she interfered when I was writing a ticket. She tried to attack me. Several officers stared at him in disbelief. The chief slowly turned toward him. Then, smack! The chief slapped Mike hard across the face. The sound echoed in the station. Mike staggered backward. Shut your mouth! The chief shouted. Mike looked confused. Chief! What did I do? His voice trembled. Who is she? Sophia stepped closer to him. Her eyes were calm but burning with anger. Do you remember the taxi driver? Mike's face turned white. Sophia continued slowly. The man you slapped yesterday. She stepped even closer. And the woman you slapped after that. Mike's breathing became heavy. Sophia looked straight into his eyes. That woman was me. The room was silent again. Mike felt like the floor had disappeared beneath him. He tried to speak. Madam, I didn't know. Sophia interrupted him immediately. The law does not care if you know someone's identity. She raised her voice. You did not just insult me. She pointed toward the station door. You insulted every citizen who depends on the police for justice. Mike's hands started shaking. He fell to his knees. Please forgive me. But Sophia's expression did not change. The taxi driver begged you to. Mike lowered his head in shame. Sophia turned to the chief. Arrest Officer Mike Reynolds. Without hesitation, 2 officers stepped forward. They removed Mike's badge. Then they placed handcuffs on him. Mike started crying. Please, madam. My career will be finished. Sophia spoke coldly. You should have thought about that before abusing your power. The officers led both men outside the station. Outside, a large crowd had gathered. News reporters, cameras, curious citizens. When people saw the 2 officers in handcuffs, the crowd erupted with whispers. That's Officer Mike. Isn't he the one who always stops taxis? Phones were raised. Videos were recorded. The chief of police stepped forward and spoke loudly. From today forward, corruption will not be tolerated in this city. He looked directly at the cameras. The law applies to everyone. The crowd started clapping. Some people even cheered. The police placed Robert and Mike into a patrol vehicle. The car drove straight to the county jail. When the vehicle stopped, the jail warden came outside. Sophia and the chief stood nearby. The warden opened the door. Bring them out. The 2 former officers stepped out slowly. Their heads were down. The warden removed their uniforms. Then he handed them orange prison jumpsuits. Put these on. For the first time, they understood the full weight of their actions. They were no longer officers. They were prisoners. The iron prison gate opened with a loud metallic sound. Clang. The door closed behind them. Inside the cell, Robert collapsed on the bench. Mike sat in the corner silently. After a long moment, Mike whispered quietly. If I had not slapped her. Robert looked at the cold prison walls. It was never just the slap. Outside the prison, Sophia stood quietly beside her car. The chief approached her. You did the right thing. Sophia looked toward the city skyline. The law must protect the weak. She paused. Otherwise, it becomes a weapon for the powerful. The chief nodded slowly. And somewhere across the city, a taxi driver started his shift again. This time without fear. Because for the first time in a long time, justice had spoken.